Assassins are surprisingly hardy adversaries who attack with knives. Their high attack power and ability to poison their foes makes them particularly unpleasant to deal with. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Play Shining Force 3. This is Battle 9, which I'm calling Fair Dodging. It doesn't really have a good name. It's called Inside the Carriage, which is somewhat dull, I must say. Now, in comparison to the last fight, this one is way easier. It's also way shorter, which is something of a blessing and requires very little editing. So we're just going to be going straight into this. We've got two groups of enemies, one on either side. We don't really have to worry about any of these enemies because they don't do an awful lot of damage. Now we've got Dark Mages, which we saw earlier. These are slightly upgraded versions. They can still use the same kind of spells. They've got a little bit more HP. They're still taken down quite easily. We have no intention of letting them really do anything at all. We've got Birdmen who are... I don't know why they keep putting these things in. The worst thing is they've got them after this battle as well. I don't understand. You're going to see Hayward kind of laying the smackdown on them a little bit later on, just to demonstrate how utterly pointless they are. But we do have these guys who are assassins. We'll see a couple of these. They're not much of a threat to Kite because Kite's defense is through the roof, but they can do a poison spell, which is very threatening because it inflicts 5 damage per turn. And that's rather hefty, way worse than any of the poison we've seen before. There are even worse poison spells in the game, but this is certainly going to be the worst one we see for a while. Wonderful cannon fodder. The worst thing about Birdmen at this point is that they barely even give any experience. The character's sitting on at level 7 or so. You look at them gaining a grand total of 1 experience, which is the bare minimum you can achieve for doing anything, an action or anything like that. However, they do bear something of a threat to Mascarin. Okay, maybe not. They're actually useless against everything now. Oh well, never mind. Now, we do have a new character this time. Her name is Sybil, and she has an incredibly fast movement speed. Now, before the battle, I gave her the life ring, and I also gave her an armor milk, which gave her an additional 2 defense. That's the big problem that she's got, as you probably will see. She's got very low HP, especially for a knight, which is unfortunate, but the amount of damage she can do is very high. It's comparable with Dante's. So, having her stay alive is rather useful, particularly with the ruins raiding we do later on. Now, you've heard me in previous battles saying that I do rather like fights that have choke points. This would be an exception to that, because this fight, as you can see, is only about 5 squares wide, which is nightmarish, particularly considering the number of boxes and things. If you see one of those sort of slightly raised things on the floor, you should be able to see them there, those little square things with the stars on them. You can get up on them, so you can actually stand on the crates, but if you don't have those, the crates act as impassable obstacles, so it's a little bit nightmarish, particularly up the other side there, where you saw we've got the entrance blocked off by Kite, which is okay, but it also means the fight drags on way longer than it should. Of course, the alternative is you try and bunch them up and then you take them out with AoE, but since we only really have one AoE right now, we've got to send her one way or the other, and the things over this end are far more threatening than the things over that end, which are just really going to take time to kill rather than any actual effort. Now, here's this 1 XP thing, yeah, see, that is the minimum that you can get. XP depends on a number of different factors. For instance, you saw Hayward killing a Birdman in 1 shot and gaining 10 experience for it. If Dante's killed a Birdman in 1 shot, he might gain more than 1, but killing him down from about 3 HP actually yields significantly less experience. Not only that, but it actually yields significantly less weapon rank up as well. I posted a formula in the thread which is so complex that I'm not even going to attempt to go into it. It's not properly documented, it's an unofficial formula that may or may not be accurate, but it sounds about right. The thing about it is that there's actually a disadvantage to one-shot killing things. Yes, while you gain extra experience, you sacrifice the ability to gain any kind of friendship points or relationship between your characters. So, it is rather... Did he just shrug at me? Did he? Really? Cheeky bastard. Good lord. I'm gonna kick his ass for that. I don't know how he can be so cocky considering he's not going to be able to kill Kite in a million years. Anyway, let's deal with the things that are actually threatening. I'll probably best get Dante's back up to full health. We don't want him getting killed. That'll be rather embarrassing. That and the fact that I've kind of been slacking off on my duties to heal every single point of HP I ever see just to get those extra 10 bonus experience points. It's not helping because the healers are lagging behind a little bit, as they do tend to do. Now, I must say this is probably one of the dullest battles in the entire thing, which is unfortunate because the battle that comes directly after that, and by directly I do mean directly, no, you do not get a break, is a little bit more interesting. The dynamic is a little bit more fun, a little bit more challenging. Unfortunately, there's still loads more bloody birdmen. Never mind. Hayward can shoot him out, this guy. I'm kind of liking Hayward now. I actually gained a short bow, which unfortunately doesn't give you the 3 square range that we're going to be seeing a little bit later on. I think the fairy bow is the first thing that gives him 3 square range. But he can do a load of damage, you know, and considering he died last fight, I think he needs to catch up on the 50 experience points he missed. Oh dear, yeah, this is something I probably shouldn't have done. Dwarves, on the other hand, unlike birdmen, are actually quite lethal, and we don't want them getting too close, so it's time to save Mascarin, or attempt to. It's actually looking a little bit messy over here. It could get unpleasant. Oh well, we use the opportunity to knock out the Dark Mage so that they can't cast any more spells and gain a nice little bit of experience for O'Bright, who's about 2 levels behind, which is crazy. I mean, he gained the 50 experience from the last fight, but he's still at level 5. However, it's time for a plot element. It's a very cruel thing to do, this. I can't believe they had that kind of contingency plan. Yes, we plan to uncouple the car in the unlikely event that we lost. Like, well, why didn't you just throw 3 times the number of bandits into that car, and you wouldn't have had that issue? You'd never have to do some elaborate scheme which involved the car clipping off into the distance with terrible 3D rendering artifacts. Yes, remember that as we crush you, despite the fact that we've just lost one of our guys, and we did that because we thought we were going to lose. Yes, bravado is apparently their only weapon in this particular fight. Okay, time to get rid of the dwarf, or at least try to. Doesn't help that these guys are hard bastards, and the knight weapons are actually vulnerable to the axe weapons of the dwarves. I would hope that we'll be able to kill the dwarf before it turns around and smacks Sybil about a bit, because Sybil is lacking HP. Well, right now I'm more concerned about Mascarin. Well, I think we should take the opportunity to do a little bit of AoE just while we're here, and we should be able to save Mascarin in time before she gets hit again. The Birdman can't kill her, the dwarf can. Birdman certainly can't kill her if she's dead. Oh, come on. How annoyingly unfortunate. It's okay, we've got Dantes, we can easily finish him off. Or not, as the case may be. This is going to turn out really messy, isn't it? Something's going to go horribly wrong here. I think we need to rescue Mascarin at this point, so what I'm going to do is I am going to get the barrel out of the way. And I'm going to do that so that someone can actually get into healing range. As right now, the only healing spells we've got are 1 square range. Not too helpful. So we'll get rid of the barrel, and then we can move Irene in behind Mascarin and heal up Mascarin. Should do the job, as well as getting a nice little bit of experience for Irene. Alternatively, we could just do that, which would make infinitely more sense and get more experience for Irene. Thankfully, you can't dodge spells or block them or do any other ridiculous things. Now, moving Slate in here is probably not the best of ideas. The reason for that is that Slate did have the Gale Ring, which gave him quite a little bit of defense, but actually gave that to Sybil. But it's okay, because he's got horrendous overkill to make up for it. Now, someone commented in the thread about the ridiculous Superman music that's going on there. It's funny, the music for him is different to the rest of the party, which you probably noticed. Well, there's a reason for that. The Force in each scenario has its own set of music. It's got a set of music that it uses unpromoted, and it's got a set of music which it uses when promoted. And that is the Scenario 3 unpromoted music, which is quite nifty. I'm a big fan of it. It's a good piece of music. It's just a kind of 20-second loop, but it's quite nice anyway. In Scenario 2, you've actually already heard the music that Shadow, also known as Midian, in his more sensible kind of naming, actually uses. You've heard that already, and indeed that was it right there. That music is actually classed as Soldier of the Empire, which is rather odd, considering these guys, you know, aren't Empire soldiers at all. So as to why they call it that, I don't know, but that's actually the name in the official soundtrack. Go figure. Another one-shot Birdman, perhaps? Yes, why not? Let's do it. Let Hayward redeem his honor after his embarrassing defeat in the last battle. Now, about to see the extent of the lack of defense that Slay actually has, and this is something that does plague him throughout the game. It's something that we can sort out later on with the addition of items and perhaps a consumable buff or two. We'll see. Now, I don't want Obright tangling with too many Birdmen, because regardless of the fact that Birdmen are weak as all hell, they still use swords, which means a minimum of 3 damage. Not really worth dealing with, and plus those assassins over there, they use swords too. Knives are counted as swords. Hopeless. Totally hopeless. The dodge rating of any bird or flying creature is actually very high, which is an advantage, because soon enough we're going to be getting one of our own. Right now, it's just a mere annoyance. Get Mascarin out of the way, and let's get engaged with these fellows. And there's the potential that the assassins can do quite a bit of damage to Dantes, assuming they're able to pull off the poison attack, but their actual attack, probably not so much. We're reaching the end of the fight here, and to be honest, Kite really isn't needed over here, but might as well get him just a little bit of experience. It's very important that you get as much experience as possible with your leader character, because particularly when we start meeting some of the more unpleasant boss characters, indeed we'll meet an unpleasant boss character in the next fight, they will target him when they get the opportunity, and if he's not the highest possible level imaginable, with the highest possible defense imaginable, you're looking at a situation where he can die, and if he dies, well, you lose the fight, and that's a complete pain in the ass, as well as losing any friendship ratings or anything that you have. Indeed, that's actually not true, come to think of it. Losing Kite is the only character that can die and not lose friendship ratings. Why? Because if he dies, the game ends anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't count the friendship as lost, because you have to reload. It's not really the most convenient thing, but, you know, just a little bit of trivia. And there's the poison attack. The poison attack doesn't do any real initial damage, certainly not to Dantes, but you're looking at doing 5 poison damage, which the life ring cannot regenerate. That's way more than the regeneration of the life ring, which is actually 2 compared to 5, but we're getting so close to the end of the fight that I'm not too concerned. There are quite a few creatures that do that poison, and if they can get it on you early in the fight, particularly against knights, it's a nightmare. Pardon my pun. The reason being that knights are often way off in the field or on the flank, away from healers, particularly at this early level, with the healing spells limited to base-to-base contact range. It can be quite dangerous, and it's actually really the only thing which tends to get knights killed so easily. Perhaps it's about time Obright got his due. Let's have him finish off this guy, and hopefully gain a level from it. Don't miss. Please don't miss. There you go. Well done. You know what you're doing now, finally. Yes, Obright does eventually get better. He just doesn't scale up so well early in the game. But we've actually missed something, guys, so it's time for another piece of horrible voice acting theatre.
Get ready.
Well, let's be fair, that's not as bad as the others, but it's not the best, you know. Surely you would think that you wouldn't want to alert the enemy to what you're about to do to them. Doesn't help. Oh well, Knight's Honor, I guess. Might as well, again, use this Blaze too. There's only 2 enemies left on the board, and they're both going to die one way or the other, so we might as well overkill. Why not? Plus, it's actually a good job we did, because that's 12 damage to 12 damage. Wouldn't have killed them otherwise. And it's okay, because we've got the barrel as well, yes. It deserved to die. And because we killed the barrel, Dantes views Mascarin as a partner. That barrel was a big threat. It looked at him funny. Let's end this. Ah, delicious overkill. Gotta love it. My name has been TotalBiscuit. This has been Battle 9 of Shining Force 3, and I'll be joining you very soon for Battle 10, which follows up about 2 minutes after this one. Thanks for watching, guys. I shall see you next time.